So what we're going to do now is I'm going to show you how I've been applying augmented intelligence to enhance some aspects of the lecture material in the class and some aspects of the quiz and exam creation and assessment. And we're going to show how this works, and I'm going to demonstrate some things using ChatGPT. So the first thing I'm doing is I'm using augmented intelligence to improve the online material that you get from the course, and also the quiz and exam creation and assessment. So for example, one of the things you often see at the end of all of the lecture videos is discussion questions. These are what are commonly known as knowledge check questions. Were you paying attention? Did you grasp the key ideas here? And historically, I did this in sort of a happenstance kind of way. I try to remember to put stuff at the end of my slides, but sometimes I'll forget, or sometimes I'll do a somewhat substandard job because I really like to make the slides, not think about what I talked about, to summarize the knowledge check questions. And in fact, when I went back over one of my slide sets from last class, I noticed I totally left out the knowledge check question. And I thought, gosh, this would be a good thing to try and see what we can do with generative AI. So what we're going to do now is we're going to use ChatGPT 4 together with the advanced data analysis technique. And I'm going to give it a PowerPoint file. And you can see that it's actually read it in. It loaded it. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to say, please read the attached PowerPoint file, given a little context, and generate a multiple choice quiz question that has 4 options. So what it should be doing is, this is ChatGPT 4 with advanced data analytics with ADA, as they say. And we can actually see what it's doing. So you can take a look at the Python code it is generating on the fly to open up my PowerPoint presentation, extract all the text from each slide, and then it goes ahead and says this is, it says this is a presentation by me, so it knows who I am, sort of. And then it generates some questions, and the question here is, what's the primary objective of the file count case study? It's to evaluate different Java database management systems, to evaluate different Java parallel programming models, to study file encryption techniques in Java, to compare different Java frameworks. And it knows the correct answer, which is pretty cool. And then it explains its reasoning. This is something I will show you in a second. I told ChatGPT, always explain your reasoning to me, please, so that I understand where you came up with these answers, which makes it more precise. So that's pretty cool. So remember I told you that I didn't have that before in my video, in my set of slides? Now I do. I've got a nice question that can pop in there that's right from the slide material. Another thing that we do, as you know, is we have bi-weekly quizzes. And these are based on all the material we cover from the previous quiz up to the class before the quiz. So we don't actually do the stuff that we cover in class the day of the quiz. We do this based on the stuff that we did up to that. And again, this is one of those things where historically I would sit there, the day before the quiz was necessary to be produced, and I go, what did I talk about the past 2 weeks? And I used to go back and I'd look through my lecture slides, and I'd say, oh yeah, we kind of talked about that. Let me see if I can remember some questions to ask. The problem with that, of course, is that what I'm covering is not necessarily what we discussed in class. Because oftentimes there'll be bullets on the lecture slide, but because of questions people ask or something springs to mind, I'll give a deeper, more interesting conversation about that. And since you come to class, you're part of that discussion. So what I'm doing now, and this is something that you should be aware of and you can leverage, is using ChatGPT to generate questions from the transcripts of the lecture material. So it's actually from what we covered. And so I'll go in and I'll say, and again, I'll see if I can get this to work here. I'll say, please read the transcript of my video and then come up with a set of questions about topic XYZ. Pretty cool. Now it's fresh. The quiz questions are based on what we actually covered as opposed to what were in the slides, which are always not as interesting as what we talk about. Now, what is so interesting about this approach? This is super cool because you can leverage this to study for the exam. And in fact, what's even cooler about this is if you go through and you use ChatGPT to kind of quiz yourself, number one, you can do this 24/7 all day long, asking as many questions as you happen to want. And if it turns out that something we covered in class went by too fast and I didn't cover it with enough detail that you might want to need to know to do a good job of really understanding how to answer the questions, you can then, in the same chat window, ask for clarification. Say, tell me more about the common fork join pool in in Java or whatever you want to know about. And in that same session, you can refine your understanding. This is like having a tutor who will help you all the time. And that, in my mind, is a major change in the way that we learn. You don't have to go hire some expensive tutor. You don't have to go to office hours and bug the TA every single moment, because there are only office hours a certain number of hours of the day. Oftentimes you can't make it because you have class, you have other responsibilities. This allows you to get round the clock, low cost, no cost tutoring on demand. How cool is that? There's a neat video that you should take a look at by Saul Khan, who is the CEO of Khan Academy, the founder of Khan Academy, talking about something similar in the context of education. His video is titled something provocative like, "How Generative AI Will Save, Not Destroy Education." And I completely agree with him. So what I've done here, this is the example of showing how to use the GLASP plugin, G-L-A-S-P. There's a plugin called GLASP, which you can install in Chrome. And when you have the GLASP plugin, any video you go to puts a little ChatGPT icon here. And when you click on it, it will throw open a chat window, and it takes the transcript from the video, and it goes ahead and then does stuff. So you can see what's happening here is we're saying, summarize the following in 5 bullet points. So this is my transcript from that video about sequential programming. And once it's done giving me a summary, I'm going to ask it to generate some quiz questions based on this thing. Not multiple choice questions, but short answer quiz questions. So let's say something like this. You have to wait till it finishes generating, and if you stop generating, it loses itself, etc. So we wait till we're done. We say, please generate 2 short answer quiz questions based on the video transcript and provide candidate answers for my graders to use when reviewing student solutions. How about that? Now, I would ask it a little bit more. I would ask it something more interesting than that, so it's not just a boring question, but this is basically what it does. So we're going to quiz question 1. What are the 2 main characteristics of sequential programs as discussed in the talk? And it gives a couple of answers that it thinks are correct, and it also gives one that's incorrect, or things that deviate. Why is it important to have a foundational understanding of sequential programming before diving into concurrent and parallel programming? That was something we talked about in the video. That might not necessarily even have been a bullet on the slide. That may have just been something we discussed as a result of a question or me thinking extemporaneously about some consequence of something on the slide. Great quiz question. So it basically explains what correct answers are, what incorrect answers are, and so on. And then you might also, at this point, say something else like, see if we can find something here that would require further follow-up. Here we go. Please give me more information about how the texture order statements specifies their order of execution in sequential programs. So this could be something where I talked about this in class. You see it in the video description, but maybe you did not quite understand what the heck I was talking about when I discussed this topic. So now, when you find something in the quiz question or the candidate answers you don't understand, you can ask for more clarification. And it comes back. It says, in sequential programming, the texture order of the statements determines their order of execution. This means the program will execute statements in the sequence in which they appear in the code file from top to bottom. Let's break down this concept into steps and examine the reasoning behind each step. And so then you can see, look at this, it goes on and on, and on and on and on, with a whole bunch of stuff about textual execution, why sequential programs do things the way they do. And then at the end, it gives hindsight adjustment. It's looking back at its answers, trying to decide if it missed something or it misstated something. This is really cool. So you should start using this stuff to study for the quizzes and exams, because it'll give you a much better sense of what we talked about. You don't necessarily have to go back and watch the entire video, although you're welcome to do that. I suspect most people probably don't do that, but you could. You don't have to go back and look at every single slide, although you could still do that. I would encourage you to do that, because you may not get, this may not give you the quiz question that's on the quiz. So it's important to have a better understanding. But this is that tireless, always helpful tutor that is helping you become better at whatever you do based on how much effort you want to put into learning the material, which is just absolutely super cool. Something else that I don't really like to do is have to generate summaries from the videos I give. As you all know, we record all the videos in class broken up into 5 to 7 minute chunks. You can see my YouTube channel here, which you've undoubtedly seen, that has all the videos. And when I get done at the end of the class, I break the videos up, I upload them to YouTube, but before I publish them, I wait until the transcripts are available, and then I use ChatGPT to go in there and give me a 100-word summary of the video based on the transcript. And all of a sudden, I no longer have to try to remember an hour or two later or a day later, what did I talk about? What were the important points? ChatGPT is able to find them out of my transcript, so it's my words. It's not going to hallucinate and do crazy things. And then I can have the summary. And naturally, I proofread it, and I edit it, and I make sure it says things in the right way. But that saves me an enormous amount of time, and my video descriptions are so much more interesting and so much deeper. So this is my Sequential Programming Concepts video, same one we looked at before. When you have the GLASP plugin, any video you go to puts a little ChatGPT icon here, and when you click on it, it will throw open a chat window, and it takes the transcript from the video, and it goes ahead and then does stuff. So you can see what's happening here is we're saying, summarize the following in 5 bullet points. So this is my transcript from that video about sequential programming. So it goes ahead and it gives 5 bullet points that summarize it. And then what I do when I want to generate the video descriptions is I say, please generate a 100-word summary of this video based on the transcript. It's spelled. And lo and behold, boom, it'll tell me what this description is. Now what's fun is I figured out how to do this after I had done the original video. So I had the original video from one of the very first days of class, and if we go back and look at the video, and we take a look at the description of that video, you'll see this is my lame description of what the video was about. And I took that from like the first slide that was these are the things we're going to do in the lesson. That's really lame, right? You know, it was something that I needed to get done because I didn't want to spend all day doing the video stuff. This is sort of extra credit that I do for the class, but it's not really part of my job as a professor. This is a much better description. So what do? We just go over here, cut and paste the thing in there. I make sure that there's nothing like wildly incorrect about this, and then I save it, and boom, in about 15 seconds, I now have a much better description of my video than I came up with on my own. That's pretty cool. So that was kind of an overview of how to use this stuff to enhance the lecture material and quiz and exam questions.